Okay, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 inside of the new S24 Ultra was just benchmarked, and the scores are pretty darn good. Now, they don't blow you away, but it progressively better with every generation of this Snapdragon processor. As you know, or if you don't know, Qualcomm makes a special 8 Gen chip for Samsung. It's basically the same all the others get, except the Samsung version of this Qualcomm chip is basically just overclocked a little bit, right? They bumped the speed up a little bit for this for Samsung devices. So I'll post the official scores, but just rough scores. In the single core, it scored just over 2,200 points for the single core test, and for the multi-core test, it scored over 6,600 points. So you get just over 2,200 points for single and 6,600 for multi, which is much better. If you go back, I tested the Nothing Phone 2 versus the S23 Ultra in benchmark testing, and surprisingly, the Nothing Phone 2 beat the S23 Ultra in benchmark testing in single core. Now, I believe the single core scores off the top of my head, without doing any going back and watching my videos, my S23 Ultra, I believe, got like a 1,700 in the single core and maybe 4,300 in the multi-core. So it's considerably, the 8 Gen 3 is progressively getting better, like it always does every year. Should be a fantastic device, and should be plenty fast for all those that need the speed. Now, Samsung is going to raise the battery capacity on the presumably on all the S lines, S24, S24 Plus, and S24 Ultra. Now, they just passed certification for a certain battery certification, and the devices passed through and got their battery certified. If you don't know, there is a ton of certifications each and every device has to get before they can be sold. Now, the 24 Plus and the 24 Ultra were just certified. We're expecting the base S24 to get certified soon, but the numbers did leak on the Plus and the Ultra, and they are going to bump up the battery capacity by 200 milliamps per hour on each device. So you'll get about 4,800 milliamp hours battery on the S24 Plus, and close to 5,000 or just over 5,000 for the S24 Ultra, which is pretty amazing considering every year these devices seem to get a little smaller and a little smaller, and they're cramming stuff in there. For them to increase the battery capacity for these devices is pretty amazing, even though it's just a little bit. However, you got to remember, we just talked about the new processors that were just benchmarked in the S24 Ultra. So you're going to have a brand new Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 CPU in the S23 series, which is more powerful and more efficient. They're more efficient, they get smaller, and now you're going to have a bigger battery capacity, which means really, really good battery life. So every year that evolves, Samsung's moving on the right path. They have a very, very good looking design and design language on these devices, and they're kind of, Samsung with these S series have kind of stayed put on this design language. They finally found one that looks phenomenal. I'm really happy with the way that they look and feel. Now they just optimize and tweak the insides as every year goes on. How long they stay with this design language, I have no idea. I'll be the first one to admit I did give Apple a ton of crap for sticking with their designs for so long. And now that I'm using this phone, I'm like, I kind of like this phone. The way it looks and feels, I don't really want them to change it. So it looks like the design is going to be pretty similar to the S24 compared to the S23 as far as the way it looks. Now, speaking on design, another leak came out saying that Samsung is going to switch from an aluminum mid-frame. And if you don't know what a mid-frame is, the mid-frame is the technical term basically for the foundation, or it's basically the metal in between the two pieces of glass, right? You got your screen and you got your back glass. Put them together. The mid-frame is the border of the device, right? It's the shiny metal part that you plug your phone into, that you turn up and look at the top and you see the microphone on there. That's the mid-frame. Samsung has been using an aluminum, special kind of aluminum for their mid-frame border, however, what are you going to call it? The official term is mid-frame. I used to repair phones, so some of my terms are technical terms. I know the average person probably does not know what a mid-frame is, but that's what it is. Samsung is going to switch to a titanium mid-frame. That is freaking awesome. Titanium is stronger than aluminum, and it weighs less than aluminum. So it's stronger and lighter than aluminum, which means you're going to get a more sturdy phone. It feels different too. It feels more premium. Apple put titanium mid-frames on the iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max, I believe. Now, here's the downside. So it'll feel stronger, and it'll give you that army tank feel. Now, it does cost more to produce. So, will that mean the prices are going to go higher? I don't know. Maybe $20, maybe not. I don't know. I was expecting a price jump this year, and I think they stayed the same from what I can remember. Now, it'll be interesting to see when we get there what the prices are going. I am getting the S24 Ultra. I just got the Samsung Galaxy Buds Pro 2. Just got them in the mail a few hours ago. I'm using them, test them. These things are awesome. Samsung knows what they're doing when it comes to hardware, even software. They're a phenomenal company. I mean, they just make good products. I mean, that's all it comes down to. So we got a new processor leak. We have a new battery leak. We have a new design and build leak with the titanium frames coming out. And I got one more leak for you. The display size on the S24 Plus was leaked. Now they are increasing the display size on the S24 Plus, and they are increasing it to a 6.55 inch display. Now that is the color display. That's the display that shows the picture where the AMOLED, where the LED pixels are inside your screen. Now that's up from 0.05 inches. Doesn't seem like a lot, but here's how they do it. Excuse me. So the S23 Plus was a 6.5 inch display. This S24 Plus is going to be a 6.55 inch display. Now, the way that they measure these is diagonally. So if you're holding your phone and you look at the bottom left of your phone, they measure that from the bottom left to the top right. So it's not how tall your display is. They measure it diagonally. 6.55 inches for the S24 Plus. The Ultra And the regular size has not been leaked, but I think they're going to keep those the same. Probably a 6-inch for the S24, probably a 6.8 for the S24 Ultra. Now, how are they doing this? The design language, the actual total height of the S24 Plus and the total width of the S24 Plus are going to remain the same. So how did they get that extra 0.05 inches out of their display? It's simple. They're going to shrink the bezel. The bezel is the little black strip around your display that you see that separates the display from the mid-frame. They are basically going to shrink that and just expand the display just slightly, just very, very slightly. Now, typically, it'll be a half of a notification bar taller or bigger. Because if you look at the top of your phone where your notification bar is, that's 0.1 inches. So 0.05 inches means it'll be half of your notification bar bigger. Makes a difference a little bit. Now, remember, they're putting out a S23 FE this year. Where are you going to fit that in? You got a S23, or upcoming, you have S24, S24 Plus, S24 Ultra. You have a 6-inch screen, 6.55 screen, and a 6.8-inch screen. So where does that S23 FE fit in? Well, the last year that they released it, it was the S22 FE was a 6.4-inch display. I have that device. I'm not a big proponent or supporter of the FE series. I got the phone, the S22 FE. Did not like it. You could just tell it felt like a mid-range phone. Did not feel like the typical Samsung flagship Galaxy device. Now that one did have 6 gigs of RAM. Makes a difference, trust me. So I don't mess with those FEs. Just get yourself, I'd rather get a year-old, like right now. Okay, let's say the FE comes out in a couple months. I'd rather, instead of getting the S23 FE, I'd rather get a S22 Plus. I'd rather go back a year and get a flagship than get the new FE model. It makes a difference, trust me.